Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Last time around we were headed towards Kyrgyzstan with some canned sardines from Munich, and the whole deal doesn't make sense at all, but we are picking the longest distance job offers, so it is what it is. And we are not even halfway there yet. Last time we ended it somewhere in Turkey, north of Turkey, in a rest station. We pick it up from there. We stopped here for resting and we still need gas, but for that we'll stop somewhere ahead. Hopefully there is something nearby. Before we run out of it, I can get some gas. We left Germany, went through the Balkan and entered Turkey. I think in this video we can maybe make it to Azerbaijan, maybe halfway through Azerbaijan, I don't know, we will see. Yeah, it's nighttime right now, not much to see. Meanwhile, I would like to mention the F1 subject. In the last video, the way I talked about it wasn't really structured, so if anybody saw it, if anybody ever happens to be watching it, yeah, it was a little confusing, so I will try to sum it up this time around really shortly and try to be more understandable by structuring the way I talk about these things in the future videos. Also, since then we had the last Grand Prix before the summer break, Belgium Grand Prix, Spa-Francorchamps, and again it was a really quite interesting race, and Russell won, Hamilton came second, Piastri third, and at the end, if there was a lap or two to go, I think we would have seen quite some drama in there. But somehow Russell pulled the strategy of one stop and it was really exciting. And then he got disqualified, everyone moved up a position and Leclerc came third. We will talk all about that. I will speed it up for now a little bit because it's nighttime, there is nothing to see, and we'll do the talking while driving through some nice scenery. So let's make some miles first and I'll catch you in a bit. So I'm back. How did you like the landscape? I've been really enjoying it. It's really lush green mountains and nice little towns. Well, this one is a little bit bigger. It is mostly nice views, really. We are approaching the Georgian border. Not that close yet, but I think soon enough we'll be there. It is almost midday. We still have plenty of daylight and more of this scenery, hopefully. And meanwhile, I will try to sum up what I was trying to say last week and maybe add a little bit on top of it. So yeah, I picked the F1 subject because recently the last few races have been really interesting, and the reaction of the fan base to all of it was as usual. Things were on fire, so I wanted to talk about that subject a little bit. I started with asking, why is F1 the pinnacle of motorsport? What are the reasons that manufacturers are participating in it? Why they are investing so much money? What are small teams doing? And what is in it for the drivers? And I tried to compare those things between the older eras and the current era. Because the fan base is focusing so much on statistics, the numbers, and not really looking at the whole context in general, they often end up in silly fights, just exchanging random talking points and insults and whatnot. And I wanted to bring some different perspective to the whole discussion and highlight the fact that there are many different factors, many different dynamics that have a major effect on the end result, and all of that matters. It is not just some drivers beating all the others, being better than everyone else. That's not really that straightforward. So I compared how hard it was for a driver back in 80s, 90s, 70s maybe, and what kind of challenges they were facing, and the competition they had, the set of rules they had, all of that combined, what was really going on for a driver in F1 back in the day and how is it right now. I tried to compare all those things and came to the conclusion that in today's F1, the drivers, despite being amazing, really talented people, they don't really get the chance that often to show their skills. It is more about consistency, which is also a skill, which is also a good thing. It is about timing, where you land, in which team, in what kind of circumstances. All of those things became, if not more, as effective, as important as the skills of a driver. It doesn't matter if you are the most skilled driver on the planet. If you land in the wrong team at the wrong time, or if the rule changes, turn things upside down all of a sudden, and for whatever reason, things can go south really bad if you are not lucky, or if you are not really being careful with your decisions. We have an accident, everyone's slowing down. It's a pretty bad one. So let's compare two people, two careers, which started pretty much the same and ended up in a totally different fashion. First up, Lewis Hamilton. He was really successful in the lower categories. He proved his talent, his skills and everything already before arriving at F1, and rightfully so. He ended up in a McLaren that was pretty good and was expected to be a strong title contender. His teammate was Alonso. Alonso was already a champion and he was more or less on top of his game. Given such a car, such a team, such a teammate, Lewis adapted really quickly because the car development, the pre-season tests and everything, you have someone like Alonso with you. Either you like each other or not, either you get along or not. His input is really a big factor in terms of setting up the car right and doing the right changes and moving in the right direction. So it is a good team. They built a good car. He has a good teammate who helps a lot with the development of the car, setup of the car and everything. So he has a good environment where he can go out there and try and learn and perform, get used to the car, get used to the tracks, all of that. Even then, it's not an easy thing by any means. It's an incredible job to be performing as he did, putting up a challenge against the world champion. Then it became a war and things got ugly, but it was incredible. But he had the chance. He had that quality in him, and he had the chance to prove himself. His car was performing and everything was working for him, so he could get into a rhythm. He could learn relatively quickly. On the other hand, let's look at Van Dorn, for example. He was very successful in the lower categories. He was a really promising talent, and he arrived in F1 in a McLaren seat, just like Hamilton did. But things were different this time. And again, his teammate was Alonso, who could again be so useful, so helpful with all those things I mentioned earlier in the Hamilton's case. However, does anyone remember how that McLaren was? The first papayas, or it was black and red, I think, before, and then it became papaya later, but they barely had any runs longer than 10, 20 laps or something. I'm not even sure, I need to check that up. During the pre-season tests and later on every weekend, Friday practice, Saturday practice, qualifying, race, they couldn't even put in some laps. In some races it was horrible, and in some others, in some rare cases, they managed to, at least one of them managed to finish a race or something. They were dead last. If you remember, Alonso was calling that Honda engine the GP2 engine, GP2 power. So the team was in a chaos. There were a lot of problems going on between McLaren and Honda and the drivers. Alonso didn't really have a chance to fully test the car and try to improve on anything because the engine was so low power and so unreliable that making any meaningful improvement that will cover the lack of power was not something possible. And Van Dorn is judged by his performance compared to Fernando Alonso in a car that barely finished any races, barely worked, to be honest. And that was pretty brutal and unfair towards Van Dorn. I mean, the guy didn't really have a chance to, complete a whole race with a car that is actually performing, giving him a chance to make some overtakes or defend or whatever. He couldn't even, I'm not even sure if we can say that he actually experienced an F1 car at all. So the comparison may seem a bit off. I'm not saying that Van Dorn was just as good as Hamilton and he was just very unlucky and that's the reason why he is not 7 times world champion or something. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But he wasn't that bad, probably. The way things went for him didn't make it possible for him to show what he actually was. All I'm saying is that we didn't get to see what he could do. He never had the chance to show anything. So where and when you land in F1 matters a lot. Things are not that straightforward, and that's why I think we shouldn't judge these people based on only the statistics and the numbers, because that just doesn't show the whole picture. By the way, I think we are approaching the Georgian border. We just left Turkey and we are in Georgia now. I don't expect to see a whole different landscape right away, but as we go further, I think we will get to see some Caucasian mountains. It's pouring down. What's going on? Did they hit each other or something? I'm not sure. So yeah, it's pouring down. I think around the Black Sea it is pretty much same everywhere, quite rainy. Romania, Ukraine, all green lush places, the southern Russia, Georgia, northern Turkey, it's full of forests. And right away the road is pretty different. It's narrow, just 2 lanes and very curvy. I think we should go for it and get to some mountains. But meanwhile, Uncle Joe is getting really sleepy. First, we need to find a resting station or gas station, get some sleep, and we can go from there. Let's speed things up again and see what's ahead. Let's take a look at where we are. We are halfway there, we can say that now, I think. Came all the way from Munich, through Balkans, Turkey, and now we are in Georgia. I think today we can make it to Baku or something and call it a day. Let's move. So the sun is coming up. We missed a lot of stuff back there. It was probably a really pretty landscape. We climbed up the mountain with a really slow pace. It was dark. Now we came down from it. We have the daylight, which is very ironic, but I hope that wasn't the only one. We will see more of such stuff, hopefully. But even if not, I'll remember the region for sure. And if we come by this way again, I will on purpose try to figure out a way to pass through it again. I hope I managed to tidy up the F1 subject a little bit so it makes better sense now, and added a little bit more on top of it. In the end, it also comes down to this world's best driver title. I don't know what that means after all the stuff I explained and all the other stuff that we don't have enough time to discuss anyway. What does it really mean? Because I can discuss in which motorsport are we able to see the driver's talent, his driving skills the most. Of course, we can argue that several can be listed, and between those motorsports where you can actually see a lot of driver skill in display, we can make comparisons, we can make different arguments and whatnot. But other than that, saying who is the best driver in the world and always going to F1 and to an F1 champion, he is the best driver in the world, that just doesn't make sense to me. Just like all the other discussions that F1 fan base is producing anyway. But if I have to give an example, I would say rally is one of those motorsports in which drivers have to put all of their skills on display. Imagine you have to decide your tire for an entire stage, and throughout the stage there is mud, there is gravel, there can be ice, snow. Like if you take Rally Monte Carlo for example, it starts probably on cobblestones and then turns into tarmac, and then you climb up the mountains and it is really narrow, and all of a sudden you hit ice and snow and whatnot, and then you come down to a town again, wet roads, dry roads. The conditions keep changing and you have to adapt through all of it. You have to do it on the go, and the conditions keep changing after each car passes. Someone dislocates a stone that was just sitting on the side of the road and it's now in the middle of the road, or an animal running, or it started raining and all your notes about how fast you are going to take a curve, in which gear you will be, and all that changes right away. So the amount of focus and skill it takes to go through those stages in a rally weekend is not just insane, but almost every minute of every stage on display, without anybody else on the road trying to overtake you, you're trying to defend, or vice versa. Without any of that, every few seconds it is a heart-stopping moment. You are on the edge wondering, will he make it? Will it crash? If you just go to a high-speed corner or a place where the cars will jump, every time a car passes, it will be an adrenaline rush. You will be just on the edge waiting for the next one. It is just crazy, and you can really find insane footage, insane drifts, saves, or accidents. It is a hard job, and when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong, spectacularly. Some of the most insane motorsport crashes come from rallying. Another thing to compare is that the performance difference between the cars in rallying are not that huge. Yes, there have been some cases where someone showed up with a whole new technology and it was a huge leap all of a sudden. But in general, the cars are closely matched and the gap between can be closed by driver's talent. Or I should maybe say that a better driver with better skills can make up so much time on the others that the gap, the performance gap between the cars, wouldn't be able to compensate for it. I'm gonna leave it at that and not go deep into rallying now. But I think if you are into motorsports and haven't been watching much of rally, I can recommend some names like Colin McRae, Sebastian Loeb, Marcus Gronholm, Richard Burns, Peter Solberg, Tommy Mäkinen, Carlos Sainz, all those names. And also the young generation names like Ottana, Calero Empera, and so on. I'm probably butchering these names, but whatever. You can find their compilations, craziest moments, all sorts of videos on YouTube. Or you can also search for craziest rally moments or drifts. All those kind of tags will do the job, and you will get some amazing footage. With that, I think I'll end that story and speed things up again. We are crossing to Azerbaijan, and I think we'll make it to Baku or something like I said earlier and leave it at that for today. Let's get moving. So we have to park and get some rest. We didn't make it to Baku, but we will call it a day here. I don't know where exactly we are, but somewhere in Azerbaijan, roughly middle of it, I think. I hope you enjoyed the road and the talk. I'm not sure about what I'll be talking about in the next one, but I have some ideas. We will see. But I will start adding time tags so you can jump to different parts of the video as you wish. That will come handy, I think. And with that, we end it here. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.